Hello, my name is Elle, and I am the host of the Mage system, the one and only. So today we're going to be, you read the title, we're going to be tier listing my mental disorders. Firstly, we need to figure out what mental disorders I have. So first, I'm going to read out to you all of the mental disorders that I've been diagnosed with. They are as follows: major depressive disorder, 5 times; generalized anxiety disorder, twice; social anxiety disorder unspecified; adjustment disorder, 3 times; post traumatic stress disorder, chronic; dissociative identity disorder; insomnia unspecified; autism spectrum disorder level 1, twice; attention deficit hyperactivity disorder; anorexia nervosa unspecified; anorexia nervosa binge purge subtype; gender dysphoria, 6 times. This is due to the help of all of the letters from professionals I had to get in order to have top surgery and have my name legally changed. Other mixed gender identity disorders, and possibly depersonalization derealization disorder, but I'm not completely sure. I just saw my old primary care type it into her computer after I told her about it. So, of all of those things that I've been diagnosed with, do I actually have all of those? I think no. A lot of them are just like stuff you put on there, but you don't actually like there's something wrong with you, but I'm not going to try and figure it out. So I'm just going to put like anxiety unspecified or something like that. It's not unspecified. It is generalized anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder. I used to think that if I had social anxiety, then that would just fit within generalized anxiety, but I no longer think that after looking into social anxiety further. It's just too much like it's too much. It's different than generalized anxiety. We'll get to that. I don't think I have anxiety disorder unspecified. Adjustment disorder, that's another thing people just throw on there to be like, oh, he's just having a hard time adjusting. It's fine. There's nothing else wrong. Insomnia. So that one, I think that just comes with having PTSD, doesn't it? You know, just can't sleep. So I think that I don't really consider that one of my diagnoses. Other mixed gender identity disorders, gender dysphoria does it just fine, don't need that one. And some could argue, I've heard someone comment before that, depersonalization, derealization disorder, if you have DID, that one doesn't really count as its own disorder because it's just expected that you have it. However, my experience with depersonalization, derealization disorder is so big and confusing and hard for me that I really need to put it on here, and I really do consider it a separate diagnosis for me personally. So I will be ignoring anorexia unspecified because there was anorexia unspecified and a binge purge subtype, and I will change the binge purge subtype into just anorexia and bulimia because they're kind of different. I don't currently have all of these. I just have some of them because I recovered from some of them. I don't have anorexia or bulimia anymore. What whoop whoop. Also, there's a couple disorders that I believe that I've had in the past that I haven't been diagnosed with. I don't think I have either of these currently, but in the past, I believe I have had pure OCD, which connected to my depersonalization, derealization disorder, and we'll get to that. And then I believe that I've had body dysmorphia. Another disclaimer: all of these disorders are really hard and have impaired or do impair my life very much. Obviously, none of them belong in the S tier if we're comparing them to like everything that were to ever exist, all of the things. However, since I'm comparing them to each other, the bar is very low. This would be a pretty boring tier list if I put them all in D and F tier. Similarly, I may make jokes about them. I don't mean to make light of these things carelessly. I've struggled with all of these. It helps me to be silly. Making light of things produces light, and light is easier to swallow than heavy. I don't want to make this a grim watch. If anyone comments that any of the things that I've been diagnosed with, what must have been misdiagnosed, or the things that I believe that I've had but haven't been diagnosed with are not valid, it's nothing against you. I swear, I just explained it so many times. Go watch another video where I explain why I'm just not gonna do that, okay? All right, so I've got them laid out here. Let's just get into it. Where should we start? Let's start strong. Let's start with autism. I've always called autism the root of all evil, just because, if I didn't have autism, how much of this other stuff would I even have? Because, being autistic, makes you like more hypersensitive to everything. People with autism have more like physical issues and, mental issues because you get traumatized easier and your brain is more sensitive and all this other stuff. And also, society's really mean to you when you're autistic. So that can definitely result in some dysfunction and, sad things. But I think out of all of these, this one is one of the most positive because, first of all, I mean, I said this last video, but I wouldn't even know who I was if I wasn't autistic. Like, who would I even be? What would I be doing right now? Like, would I even be making this? Actually, no, I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't be making this video right now if I wasn't autistic. Like, I don't want to know. I do not want to know who I would be. Just because I don't have like a lot of comparison right now. Sorry, I'm doing this in Google Docs if you can't tell. Just because I don't have a lot of comparison right now, I'm just going to put autism in the A tier. Okay. Next, let's do PTSD. So if you, I don't know if you go online at all, well, probably because you're watching this video, but I don't know if you've ever seen this image. It's like attached to a lot of memes. It'll like be like, oh, when somebody says this, and it'll be like the PTSD image of the guy just showing like, oh, you're traumatized or whatever. But it's like a joke. But I actually really like that's probably not good that they use that image, but I actually really like this image. Like I don't know, there's just like the look in his eyes. I'm like it's like I get it. It's just the only thing I could think to put as the image. So this one is really bad. Yeah, I can't really think of any good things about this one. Like I'm trying to think of a single redeeming quality this has, but like can you think of anything? Like, can you think of any positives of having PTSD? Because I can't. I feel like this is going to be a very polarized chart, but I'm just going to put it in the bottom tier. Okay, let's go social anxiety. Okay, social. What the hell? I don't know why the image looks like that now. Social anxiety is like I used to think I didn't have it because if I have autism and I have generalized anxiety, then how the hell am I supposed to say I have social anxiety? However, it's just pretty fucking obvious where you're like, I'm too afraid to go to the grocery store because people are going to look at me. People are going to be like, look at that stupid idiot wearing a hoodie. Like, who does that? Who walks around the store in a hoodie? What are you doing? Buying vegetarian corn dogs? What an idiot. But at the same time, like, it's not the worst one. It could go harder. Like, it could go harder. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I feel like that one out of all of them is like one of the easiest to get over. Like, I've definitely improved on that so much over the years because it's pretty, compared to the other ones, it's a lot easier to like desensitize yourself and like systematically be like, no, we're gonna go to the fucking grocery store, nobody's looking at you, and then you just do that over and over and over, and eventually it lessens a lot. I think that one's not too bad. We're just gonna put that one in C tier. Okay. ADHD. So for a lot of these I just looked up stock images and it's really telling about like the public perception of these mental disorders and who has them. It's this guy, it's this teenage boy and he's like, I don't get any of this stuff. I don't care. I'm gonna go play video games. This is another one where it's like, yeah, this one's pretty fucking bad. Like, yeah, it really sucks. and it makes my life a lot harder. And it's one of those ones where it's like, it's hard to forget about. Like, it's always there. It's not like this thing that comes in waves. Well, it kind of does, but like, it's always happening. But at the same time, I feel like having ADHD can make you funnier sometimes. Like, as much as being on my meds gives me mental clarity, I don't like being on my meds whenever I hang out with friends because I'm not going to be as funny. Like, I'm not going to be on the same wavelength. So, I don't know. We're going to put this in A tier right now. I'm in sort of like a battle with my meds because I take 20 milligrams of Vyvanse on the weekdays, but then there's like an ADHD med shortage right now. So I've had to try Adderall, but my doc prescribed me 5 milligrams and I don't feel shit. Anyway, so she said I could take two if I wanted to, if 5 milligrams wasn't doing it. So I took two and I still didn't feel shit. So don't do this at home, please. But I took four, and four made me feel like Vyvanse feels. But the Adderall version, which the Adderall version is just like more intense. And
I didn't get the crash. I actually didn't get the crash. Like, I felt like I was on Adderall until I went to sleep. Like, it actually made it harder for me to sleep. But the weekend, when the weekend came around, I was an absolute weirdo. I was like, I don't know, you just start buying weird shit, and then you wake up on Monday and you're like, what happened? I ate so much food. I went to the store and I bought so much food and I binged that weekend. So, I don't know. I think it wasn't even easier to get because of the shortage. It wasn't even.
like I had to call around pharmacies to get it. This is not interesting. Let's move on. Depression. This is also one of the ones that I see absolutely zero positives to. Like, it is literally the definition of everything bad. Like, there is nothing redeeming about this. Like, it's literally the worst thing. I don't know. Like, it's literally just. I mean, yeah. Uh-uh. E tier. Generalized anxiety. This is another one where the stock image is very telling. You look up generalized anxiety disorder online. It's going to be an image of a white woman ripping her hair out or her going like, or the one where they're in the corner and they're like, this one also has very few redeeming qualities. Like, it's different from social anxiety in the sense that you just feel on edge all the time. You can't do anything without feeling like uncomfortable. I mean, they're completely different things, but it's kind of like depression 2.0 where it's like, is there anything redeeming about feeling slightly uncomfortable all the time? I really don't think so. This is also going to get E tier. Okay, anorexia. All right, look at this guy. Okay, well, this is hard to talk about. Not like because I'm like, oh, I can't talk about it, but like just because it's like, how am I supposed to like talk about the positives of this without it being like terrible? I guess probably trigger warning. I'll put a timestamp on screen for whenever I'm done talking about anorexia. Like any addiction, it felt good. It felt good. You got a dopamine hit whenever you lost weight. I could be wearing a literal like trash bag, and as long as I was like skinny, people would be like, "Oh, I love your outfit." And if I wore the same trash bag at a normal weight, you know, people would literally, I would not even exist. Like, I would be imperceptible. Like, it's one of the things that makes it so hard to quit out of is because it's not just your perception that you have to break out of. It's not like whenever you have body dysmorphia about something that doesn't even exist. It's like people do treat you better. At the end of the day, I would rather do so many other things than ever do that again. I have slipped into trying to do that so many times after like the major two times. The second time that I relapsed, it having terrible health consequences and all my hair like falling out and stuff, you know the story, whatever, and having to go like to treatment. I would never do that shit again. I would rather be bulimic than do that again. When I was 16, I could do incredibly terrible things to my body. And now if I don't eat for a day, like I will like get very, very sick. Like I will probably like pass out. Like my body cannot handle that stuff anymore. And so if I were to remotely ever try this again, like it would be feeling terrible all the time for something that's so stupid. Like, oh my gosh. So I don't know. I can't put it in F tier because I would be lying if I said that if it didn't feel good at all, like I would have never done it. So I guess I'll just put it in D tier. Okay, bulimia. We've got a white woman leaning over a toilet. This one is also very terrible. For me personally, in the way that I went about these things, I would rather relapse into bulimia than anorexia. And I actually did earlier this year. I mean, I haven't told you about this, but earlier this year, I had a stint of bulimia because I was just really depressed earlier this year. I'm better now. I would not do that again. I hate this mother because it makes your acid reflux terrible. It makes your face puffy. Whenever you have bulimia, it makes your salivary glands and your lymph nodes swollen. So these things right here will be bigger, so your jawline will be gone, and right here too. And I didn't notice it until I went back, and I was doing it about once a week, so it wasn't, extreme. Well, when I first got, yeah, it was extreme. It was multiple times a day. But my most recent relapse was once a week. And so I got and I framed the bottom half of my face from a few pictures before I relapsed to and a few pictures after. And I realized that the difference was noticeable. I mean, not in the sense that like coworkers or anything like that would notice it, but it was noticeable to me. And I don't know if I'm going on for too long about this, but it's stupid. It's stupid. It's like, oh my God, how much self disrespect do you have? Like, you're literally sitting there doing the most degrading activity to yourself to blow off steam. Like, literally do anything else. Like, that's horrible. But I can assure you, like, it's so bad for you. It is so bad for you. Like, I would rather than do that because of just how bad for you that is and how much irreversible damage that can cause you. We're going to also put this in D tier. Gender dysphoria. This being trans is not a mental disorder. And I don't know what the status on whether people think gender dysphoria is or not. All I know is I've been diagnosed with it and I'm just going to talk about it. Basically, that diagnosis and what gender dysphoria looks like for me and where I would put it on this tier list. I have DID and I was born a baby. But the host from, as far as I can remember all the way to 15 was a girl and identified as a girl. And then another alter wasn't even a non-binary or anything. She was just a really butch lesbian. Her name was Nico. She and that girl host integrated, and for some reason I became non-binary. And, I just use all pronouns. I didn't really have intense dysphoria or anything. And then a male alter, Max, integrated at the beginning of 2022. And then I started identifying as like trans man, but also non binary pronouns, they, he, whatever. I got top surgery. I have not regretted it for a second. It has been amazing for me. Ginger gets mega dysphoria from it, which was actually really helpful in me realizing that my DID is real because, I doubt it all the time. And I'm like, wait, I'm like watching her in the mirror and I'm like, that's exactly what I've been experiencing, that discomfort with yourself. That's exactly what I've been experiencing. Now I'm watching her experience it. I do not have a whole lot of dysphoria anymore as a result. I mean, I do actually, but it's not body dysphoria is what I mean. It's social dysphoria, the fact that people still call me she and that I don't pass and that tea didn't work for me and all that stuff. It's not, I would not put it in D tier because I think that having dysphoria can bring, it brings you closer together with people in your community in the sense that there's people out there that are like you. And I think being trans, whether you have dysphoria or not, is a beautiful thing. And dysphoria for me is just part of that experience, and it's just not the worst thing ever. If gender dysphoria causes me depression, then we're just ranking depression, you know? Let's just do DID now. That was my dog. If you heard that, he just groaned. If you saw my last video, it was about romanticizing DID and how I believe that when you have gone through a mental illness, you're pretty well aware of the negatives of it, and romanticizing it sometimes in order to embrace the positives that it can bring you so that you're not being like, this is terrible all the time, you know? And the fact that, yes, maybe people who don't have that disorder will see it and be miseducated, but it's not your job to educate those people. Sometimes you're just trying to exist and cope. And so I think that romanticizing things, as long as, you know, it's you doing it and not other people, it's fine to an extent, as long as you're not like being blatantly misinforming. You know, it's, you don't owe anyone your sadness, right? So I want to preface that before I rank this one, because I don't want anyone giving me shit if I'm not like, this is the worst shit ever, because I feel like doing that is just dismissive and rude to all of the members in my system for me to be like, I hate that you're here, you know? When in reality, these people kept me a functional being in this world for a long time because it sectioned off traumatic instances away from me so that I could function without being burdened by those things. Yes, it's hard. It's hard, like living in a house of people is hard. It's scary. It is terrifying to try and process yourself that like that. And it's a head fuck. Like, I don't think you could possibly understand, like, if you haven't experienced it, trying to understand the way society constantly tells you from the beginning of time, you are one person. You are one person moving through this world. You can't fathom it. Like, it's impossible to grasp half of the time. But at the same time, is that the DID's problem or is that society's problem? I don't know. System pride, and I want to leave this DID part on just a positive place. And I just want to have some positivity here and say that I think the fact that our brain, made a system of people to help each other out is amazing. And I'm putting this shit in S tier because good job, brain. Like, what the absolute frick? Depersonalization derealization disorder. Whew. The first time that I remember experiencing this very fully was when I was 13 and I had left my school to do homeschool or online school because I started getting really depressed and I was like, I can't be here around these people. Like, I need to go. And I ended up isolating myself. And I went back to go to a friend's like vocal music concert or something. I can't remember. And I was sitting there in the auditorium and suddenly my thoughts got very loud. Ever since then, my thoughts have stayed loud. And for many, many years, I was terrified of that. I was dissociated all the time and I was terrified of it. And I was scared that I wasn't real and that there was something wrong with me. Like, whenever, like, I didn't feel like my skin was really my skin. Like, I felt like my skin must be different from other people's skin. Like, I remember somebody was showing me their MRI scans and I was like, I don't have that. Like, if you put me in there, like, my brain wouldn't look like that. Like, I don't like I was convinced, and it was an obsession for me. And this is where the pure OCD comes into place, because I would contemplate this for hours. I would write about it and write about it. I was terrified of it. I would go into fits where I would just cry. And this came to an end, not the depersonalization, but the freaking out about it. And it came to an end once I figured out what depersonalization derealization disorder was. I had a therapist that entire time, and I was describing this experience, or trying to. I honestly at the time thought of it as indescribable. Like, do you guys ever have a thought that is so complicated that you can't even say it out loud? Like, it's too intricate for human language to express. Like, you can't even begin to express it. That's how I thought about it at the time. I don't know if anybody else ever has that, or it's like it's too complicated for you to even remember what the thought is. Anyways, I tried my hardest to describe, and my therapist did not tell me what dissociation was. And so I was stuck freaking out for years until finally I think I Googled, like, why don't I feel real? And this time I stumbled upon depersonalization derealization disorder. And I was like, holy shit, this changes everything. This has caused me a lot of distress, but I'm going to save the obsessive distress part for the OCD part of it. Specifically speaking just about the depersonalization and the derealization, I think that that goes more in D tier, because I think that it's not like all 100% bad, because I think, you know, it takes you out of traumatic events a little bit, so you're not fully experiencing it, and that's nice. And just little things like that. I mean, mostly it's bad, but okay, body dysmorphia. Okay, this has come in various ways. Obviously I used to have anorexia, so I used to definitely undue fixation on things that nobody else notices or cares about, that kind of thing. I've also had this with my hair. I currently do. I wouldn't consider it to the extent of having qualifying for the diagnosis at this point in time, because I don't think it's severe enough. But I'm very scared of my hair falling out. I guess this is just because I was traumatized the time like a bunch of it fell out, and I got telogen effluvium from my eating disorder last year. And so I have a fear. I close my eyes when I shower because I do not want to see how much of it is coming out, because if I see it coming out, like, if I catch a glimpse of my scalp back here in the mirror and it looks like too thin to me or something, like, I'll cry. Like, I'll have a terrible day. I'll be ridden with anxiety afterwards. It really sucks. It hasn't affected me as much as some of these other ones, but it doesn't have any redeeming qualities, so I think this is going to get E tier. Okay, OCD. It's very similar to body dysmorphia in a lot of ways. It's it's just terrible. Like, there's nothing good about it. At least there was nothing good about mine. I mean, maybe some other people consider theirs to have redeeming qualities or something, like if you have a form of OCD that actually, because mental disorders do convince you that they're doing something for you sometimes. So maybe if you have like contamination OCD or something, it's convincing you that you like it or something like that. I don't know. But my form of OCD did not have any positives. Obsessing about whether I was real or not did not have any positives. So it's definitely actually one of the worst ones I think I've ever had, like mental disorder wise. I think this is one of the most terrifying experiences that I've ever had. Um, it's absolutely horrible. Absolutely terrible. I think this one is probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had with a mental disorder, and then maybe I think PTSD and depression probably tie. because depression is just so like all encompassing. Like it just goes with everything. It's so general, you know? Um, it's a little bit skewed, but maybe that's because mental disorders are not good. I hope this was a good video. I don't know if this was interesting or not. Here's our final product. So yeah, this one was I hope this was interesting. It wasn't as, it wasn't like I don't know. If you want to see some of our other videos or, you know, see other cool videos, there's plenty of videos on my channel. If you like it here, we're pretty chill. We like to have honest perspectives and talk about stuff in a different kind of way. Um yeah, if you want to meet anyone else in the system, some videos on them too. Um Let me know your thoughts down below as always. Thank you for watching. I know that was probably really loud. Thank you for watching.